Our next panel, which will be discussing the next generation, we have our moderator, Shaun Grech, co-founder and director at Incredible Web.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion where we'll be discussing the next generation of some of the technologies we've been hearing about, namely artificial intelligence and blockchain. How do they synergize? How do they fit in together? And how will they help us evolve to the future? How will they take us to the future? We'll also discuss how these technologies individually will help each other evolve and how they will work together. Without further ado, please let me introduce to you our panel. Ms. Susan Oh, co-founder and CEO of Muckr AI. Hello, Susan. Welcome. Dr. Justin Litchfeild, Executive VP of Technology at ABE Global. Welcome, Justin. Dr. Velislava Hillman, founder at Kratos. Welcome, Dr. Velislava. Alexandre Dreyfus, CEO of Socios and Chiliz. Come with the support. And finally, Silur, a mathematician, computer science, and cryptography expert at QAN, Quantum Blockchain Platform. Thank you, guys. So, first of all, I wanted to kick off this panel discussion by going around and introducing yourselves to this audience and your projects you're currently working on.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Susan Oh. I am founder and CEO of Muckr. What we do is we model source behavior to look at the fidelity of content, what people commonly call fake news, using a combination of NLU, NLP, and some neural networks. And in the process of building my training corpus, I helped launch a nonprofit called Blockchain for Impact, which has the full support of the Office of Partnerships at the United Nations General Assembly. So what I do is I look at practical frameworks and I synthesize different blockchain features to crowdsource the data needed to train machine learning algorithms.
Thank you. Justin?
So I'm Justin Litchfeild. I'm at ABE Global, which is a global 24/7 securities exchange that we're setting up that will allow people to trade normal traditional securities for traditional financial assets in ways that feel much more modern. So I can do it at any time, clearing and settlement, not restricted by geographic boundaries, arbitrary time boundaries, and make it feel much more internet age securities.
Very interesting. Thank you. Dr. Velislava?
Hi, I'm a researcher. I study children and young people. I look at increasingly digitized educational environments. We're currently building a decentralized data management system that provides transparency and accountability for data, for school data.
Alex?
Hi, my name is Alex Dreyfus. I'm the CEO of Chiliz and Socios.com. We are a Malta-based company with 60 employees, 24 nationalities, and we do something very simple. We are tokenizing sports teams like Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, Atletico Madrid, Galatasaray, etc. And we are creating a platform that allows fans from all over the world to engage with their clubs thanks to the technology.
Thank you.
I'm Silur. I'm also a researcher. My main focus is quantum-safe, quantum-resistant cryptography. I was part of Ethereum Foundation, currently part of Monero Research Lab, and co-founder of QAN, where we are doing a generic smart contract platform where all cryptography is quantum resistant.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The first topic I wanted to discuss is, so we've got these two technologies, the two buzzwords of the past 3 years, I would say, artificial intelligence and blockchain. How do you think that they're empowering people, and what unintended consequences could they bring along, possibly?
Anyone?
Susan, can you start?
So I have this friend named Adnan who sat on the board of the World Bank for 3 years in a row, and he would often say to me, a technology without philosophy is efficiency without purpose, right? And that is the longest and hardest thing to figure out. What is the world that we want to build, and what problem are we solving? So if we were to boil it down to a very simple statement, right? Blockchain promises transparency without a single point of failure, a trust in a trustless system. And AI, I only look at as automation. I don't think there's really anything intelligent about it at this point. So if we can bring transparency to the transactions of data between people and organizations and computers, and even the information that's exchanged from computer to computer, then I think we can be much more intelligent about the biases and how that data is used and not just weaponized for core profit motive.
It's a very interesting take. Thank you very much. We mentioned data, blockchain, and obviously transparency. Dr. Hillman, I know you have some thoughts on this as well.
I have a little bit to say on that. I agree that there are many opportunities now with blockchain technologies to, for example, create digital credentialing, especially for young people who have taken either informal courses or they have gained some kind of experience outside school. But on the other hand, this kind of public recognition can also exacerbate inequalities because of, if we look at global developments, not everybody can afford the same technology. So at some point, somebody's going to be a lot more accredited, and blockchain technology is also providing this different sorts of credentialing. It overdrives the current more traditional, obtaining of diplomas and that. With regards to transparency, I wanted to add that education, data mining, and learning analytics are very important because they progress theory and practice. But on the other hand, the growing amount of data that's being collected about children, young people, also has implications with regards to their privacy. With very little correlation, you can identify an individual nowadays. So there has to be a mechanism in place that ensures privacy for young people.
Agreed. Something else I wanted to discuss was, yes, blockchain does provide the transparency, but how can these two possible technologies work together? So we've got artificial intelligence on one side. It's very good at guessing. It's very good at learning. It consumes data. It needs the data to learn. And on the other hand, we've got blockchain, which is very good at verifiability. It's a deterministic technology in its own roots. And it's very good at keeping transparency in the way these AI models are learning. Silur, how do you think that these two technologies can go together?
Mostly through how to share data to train an AI on. We've seen examples, and there are several projects that works with homomorphic encryption on how to provide data to a global model training without actually providing the private parts of the data. So all the operations, the backpropagations, and the operations that the training of a model requires are capable on an encrypted data from multiple parties, and finally you just aggregate it as the owner of the model. But neither of the private parts of your personal data, for example, from your customers, are in your hands. So privacy preserving transparently while keeping all the operational functionality of an AI training is the best use case, I think, and we've seen projects like that.
It's true. Thank you very much. Justin, I don't know if you have any thoughts on how these two technologies can be combined and synergized together.
Sure. It's always a tricky thing to try to merge these two technologies, but one place I think is really interesting is like you mentioned, with a lot of the AIs consuming data. I think we can actually drop back down to the first use of blockchain, which was just internet money. right? Moving money around, like through computers, computer systems like this, I think has been underdeveloped, underexplored, oddly. Everybody wanted to build the next generation hype technology, but we haven't really explored internet money fully. And I think that the internet money use case and letting these systems start to learn and optimize themselves through interacting with each other in a way that doesn't require any sort of intermediaries is going to be a really nice way for those to move forward and develop.
Agreed. Alex?
I cannot talk too much about AI because we don't use it, but in terms of blockchain and transparency, in our case, we are telling the fans all over the world of all of these big clubs that they're going to have a voice on the decision of the club. And we use blockchain for a very simple reason, is integrity and transparency, because if I'm telling you, hey, what's going to be the color of the, what do you want the color of the jersey to be between A, B, C, D, we need to ensure that when we give that power to the fans, there is transparency and it's guaranteed. And that's how we actually, in our case, use blockchain.
Okay, very interesting. You cannot obviously mention blockchain without mentioning cryptocurrencies in this space. Don't want to shock anyone. But Alex, I know you have some interesting experiences to share with how cryptocurrencies can help startups or companies in general generate capital and bypassing a lot of the tedious bureaucratic processes of traditional IPOs.
So in my particular case, actually I used to raise money in private equity before, like a traditional VC. So I've done that, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in my life. And last year we did raise $60 million in private placement. And the dynamic of it is very different because you raise money, in our case was private, so it's still big investors and some pool of investors. But there is a price to pay that people don't talk is, in our case, now we are listed on Binance.com and all of these exchanges. But now 24/7, I have people that want to interact with us to see, hey, how is the token going, what you're going to do, etc. So instead of having a board of 5 people that you have to talk every 2 months, every 3 months, and you report to, now you don't report to your community, but at the same time you hold them information, and they are very needy and demanding. So this new crypto element of raising money, listed your token, gives so much responsibility and a new layer of interaction with people that interact with your business, even though they don't own anything of your business. Yes. They own a token that gives you access to an ecosystem that you're building. But you have to deliver that, and hopefully you have to be successful. So for me as an entrepreneur, this new interaction, this new 4D chess that we have to play with these token holders is exhausting, sometimes very frustrating, but at the same time super interesting because you build something that is completely new.
Agreed. And obviously everyone knows about the 2017 ICO boom where so many billions of dollars were invested. Unfortunately, due to the lack of traceability and procedure, 81% of that money has gone missing. Hence why we introduced the concept of security tokens, which are sort of a middle ground between IPOs and ICOs. Justin, could you elaborate a bit more on this? Because I know this is your area of expertise.
I don't know about that figure you mentioned about that money going missing. I know a lot of resources were misallocated, sure. A lot of excited young companies got a lot of money. And it was really interesting to watch, of course. I think what we definitely learned, though, is that the capital markets want to be global. They will be global. And that the technology exists to at least proof of concept that. And so we were able to see these big groups of investors coming together and kind of in very new ways that haven't been done before. And there were a lot of missteps. Everybody kind of pumped the brakes, and that was good for the industry. A lot of capital was misallocated. But it showed us, with what we're building, that this capital markets will become global. People want to be able to invest in new and exciting companies. There are opportunities for growth everywhere in the world. There's people with money everywhere in the world, and we shouldn't be putting these artificial barriers to those two coming together. And so we're trying to help build that, but in a much more traditional way, building a strong framework that will let that happen legally and compliantly. And to the point about, I was involved with a couple of ICOs and watched them need investor relations departments when there's like 4 people, and really it should be 4 guys coding, just like hacking away in a basement. But instead they've got PR and marketing firms that are dominating everybody's attention, so distracting, and it's really hard to build a company that way, as you know firsthand. So we will find a sweet spot, I think, where companies can get to a certain stage that's much smaller than it was before. Like right now with Uber trying to go public and things like this is outrageous. But with much smaller companies being able to become accessible globally will be really nice. But I think that we still need to give them room to incubate with the kind of more traditional systems.
Okay. And do you believe, I know this is something that you're currently working on, but do you believe we can also bring securities closer to people and improve the way we actually sell and raise capital through the traditional securities as well?
Precisely. And it's something where the security token market in general is really funny. We're using this database technology at the end of the day. Our exchange, we use an Oracle database to store our trading records. The security tokens will use an Ethereum database to store the records. At a high level, they're the same. It's just, at the end of the day, there's a ledger somewhere. Can that ledger be made more efficient through the security tokens, and can that empower people? Can we start adding features there? Absolutely, and that's going to be really great to watch. But I think we need to start from this framework of compliance and working within the systems that do exist, and then kind of innovating from within.
Okay, thank you. The next generation of artificial intelligence and blockchain. What are the current limitations do you feel like we have with the current version, the existing version of blockchain, and how can we improve it, or how are we trying to improve it?
Well, obviously, the 2 biggest challenges in all blockchain development and research we have is sharding, so how to make the whole chain smaller without compromising on security, so 51% attacks on small shards, and consensus algorithm on energy efficiency, and also on security. As for next generations, we know that proof of stake is under heavy research within Ethereum Foundation, and it's promised to arrive somewhere, but there are more exotic stuff like verifiable delay functions, verifiable random function with the addition that you can also pin it to a time, so maybe for the close of the New York Stock Exchange. And you can coordinate cryptocurrencies to fiats or real-world events to wall clocks with that. And actually, Ethereum Foundation will have a ceremony. They are actively researching VDFs too. And as far as I know, there will be a testnet on that and a ceremony to set up such a VDF, which I happen to have the opportunity to be part of. So as for sharding too and consensus algorithms, there are ways that's not in the mainstream media, but these are the 2 most important challenges we have to overcome. And in the media, you also read that Vitalik said that the Ethereum blockchain is almost full, so we have to do something about the size problem now.
Okay. So yes, that was from a technical point of view, I'm aware that yes, we are reaching some limitations with the current consensus algorithms which we are using. But as a blockchain, as a technology, Dr. Hillman, do you feel like we have reached some limitations, or are we able to use some of the features of blockchain into the future?
I think we can leverage from the new technologies within the education sector, the way it's happening even in the medical sector and elsewhere, because the objective is not to put some kind of regulation that's going to stifle innovation. We need to use data, but in the education sector at the moment, there's nothing that provides this extra bit of security and transparency to who gets what. A lot of the edutech companies are for-profit companies, and it's literally curriculum is in the hands of private institutions. We need a participation of policymakers and educators in that. The platform that we're developing is leveraging on the new technologies in the sense that we're trying to enable this permissioned access. So we're saying you can still do education data mining and learning analytics, but let's try and do it in a more ethical way. And we're trying also we're looking at ourselves as advocates for young people. So we want to rope them in and provide extra data literacy along with that platform.
Using blockchain ethically, I 100% agree. I mean, there are many applications of blockchain, but we need to make sure that we do use it to our own benefit at the end of the day and not at the cost of privacy. Susan, how do you see the technology blockchain shaping up our future? And in an ideal world,
I think the main issue right now, and I kind of like saw that coming about 2 years ago, is that there's no sense or shape to the way the industry is moving. And I have to make this point. I do not think that blockchain and crypto are synonymous. You can't have one without the other, which is why every major bank and nation state is developing back-end systems, right? And payments and systems. You don't necessarily need the crypto. And part of the reason why there was such an aversion to adoption in the beginning, because, I mean, digital assets have been around for 20 years. This is not new, right? The first digital asset exchanges started in 2001 that were backed by gold, and then the SEC came around and rounded up all the leaders and sent them to jail, right, for securities fraud. Now, this is about the fourth wave that's coming in. So the technology, the blockchain is the underlying technology, and then there's crypto, right? The technology in itself that brings the transparency, right, without a single point of failure and a trustless system in itself has great value to disintermediate third parties that are making money for nothing, right? So there's great savings there. In terms of blockchain, what I would like to see in terms of blockchain is interoperability and infrastructure, right? Are you building things that are the rails that other people can build on top of so that there's coherence and communication in that openness and that transparency that we're bringing? Not everything has to be decentralized. Some things work perfectly fine on a searchable binary tree and works just fine like, centralized. There has to be intelligent decentralization with a strong governance framework. And then let's look at the network capacity and how to make that more energy efficient, right? The future of AI, it's already happening. In 3 to 5 years, I see massive amounts, 80% of all back-end processes being automated, right? When I think about the predominant public conversation about machine learning algorithms and AI, it makes me so upset that people are worried about the wrong things. You're worried about Terminator coming out the door, and I'm like saying, look at what's in your back pocket in your smartphone, because there's at least 6 or 7 AI-based processors that's learning everything about you and weaponizing that data, right? And the only way that we can disintermediate that is to bring transparency in those practices.
Totally agree. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your thoughtful insights. I appreciate it. That's the end of our session. And let's see where blockchain and AI will actually take the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There will be a testnet on that and a ceremony to set up such a VDF, which I happen to have the opportunity to be part of. So as for sharding 2 and consensus algorithms, there are ways that not in the mainstream media, but these are the two most important challenges we have to overcome. And in the media, you also read that Vitalik said that the Ethereum blockchain is almost full, so we have to do something about the size problem now.
Okay. So yes, that was I mean, from a technical point of view, I'm aware that yes, we are reaching some limitations with the current consensus algorithms which we are using. But as a blockchain, as a technology, Dr. Hillman, do you feel like we have reached some limitations, or are we able to use some of the features of blockchain into the future?
I think we can leverage from the new technologies within the education sector, the way it's happening even in the medical sector and elsewhere, because the objective is not to put some kind of regulation that's going to stifle innovation. We need to use data, but in the education sector at the moment, there's there's nothing that provides this extra bit of security and transparency to who gets what. A lot of the edutech companies are for-profit companies, and it's literally curriculum is in the hands of private institutions. We need a participation of policymakers and educators in that. The platform that we're developing is leveraging on the new technologies in the sense that we're trying to enable this permissioned access. So we're saying you can still do education data mining and learning analytics, but let's try and do it in a more ethical way. And we're trying also we're looking at ourselves as advocates for young people. So we want to rope them in and provide extra data literacy along with that platform.
Using blockchain ethically, I 100% agree. I mean, there are many applications of blockchain, but we need to make sure that we do use it to our own benefit at the end of the day and not at the cost of privacy. Susan, how do you see the technology blockchain shaping up our future? And in an ideal world, so
I think the main issue right now, and I kind of saw that coming about 2 years ago, is that there's no sense or shape to the way the industry is moving. And I have to make this point: I do not think that blockchain and crypto are synonymous. You can't have one without the other, which is why every major bank and nation state is developing back-end systems, right, and payments and systems. You don't necessarily need the crypto, and part of the reason why there was such an aversion to adoption in the beginning, because, I mean, digital assets have been around for 20 years. This is not new, right? The first digital asset exchanges started in 2001 that were backed by gold, and then the SEC came around and rounded up all the leaders and sent them to jail, right, for securities fraud. Now, this is about the fourth wave that's coming in. So the technology, the blockchain is the underlying technology, and then there's crypto, right? The technology in itself that brings the transparency, right, without a single point of failure in a trustless system in itself has great value to disintermediate third parties that are making money for nothing, right? So there's great savings there. In terms of blockchain, what I would like to see in terms of blockchain is interoperability and infrastructure, right? Are you building things that are the rails that other people can build on top of so that there's coherence and communication in that openness and that transparency that we're bringing? Not everything has to be decentralized. Some things work perfectly fine on a searchable binary tree and works just fine centralized. There has to be intelligent decentralization with a strong governance framework. And then let's look at the network capacity and how to make that more energy efficient, right? The future of AI, it's already happening. In 3 to 5 years, I see mass amounts, 80% of all back-end processes being automated, right? When I think about the predominant public conversation about machine learning algorithms and AI, it makes me so upset that people are worried about the wrong things. You're worried about Terminator coming out the door, and I'm saying, look at what's in your back pocket in your smartphone, because there's at least 6 or 7 AI-based processors that's learning everything about you and weaponizing that data, right? And the only way that we can disintermediate that is to bring transparency in those practices.
Totally agree. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your thoughtful insights. I appreciate it. That's the end of our session. And let's see where blockchain and AI will actually take the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.